planes have been confirmed by the Israeli Air Force to be stationed and massing in Iraq for strikes on Iran. OPEC says that oil will go to unlimited prices, conservatively $500 a barrel. If there is attack, that means you'll be paying close to $20 a gallon. According to them, the economy, which is completely based on petrochemicals, will completely implode. But they've got their New World Order shock troops, FEMA camps built. The real target of all of this is the United States. The New World Order wants to launch an attack on defenseless Iran so they can then claim Iran is launching terror attacks inside the U.S., which will actually be launched by the Pentagon. The true target is the American people and setting up a police state. Congress and the Homeland Security Committee in the House have discovered the martial law plans for 6 months. I've interviewed multiple members of Congress. We have articles up there today where they're now trying to subpoena the White House about the martial law plans. Karl Rove also was subpoenaed by Congress and fled the country and is now under indictment. You will never hear that on your national news, though. But if you Google it, it's all over the foreign press, and there's videos on YouTube of Congress and the indictments. Of course, that doesn't really matter because Barack Obama and John McCain are totally owned by the New World Order as well. Run on bank spells big trouble for U.S. Largest bank run since the Great Depression in the early 1930s here in the United States, kicking off in 1929. That is the mainstream headlines. U.S. Bank IndyMac seized amid intensifying crisis. 75% of the value has been lost the last 6 months. 50% of that loss was just Friday of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Total money laundering scams themselves. Oil now above $150 a barrel in weekend trading. Gold exploding. For the rest of the hour, we're joined by former Army intelligence. He, of course, lived all over the world from France to South Africa, the largest gold and silver broker in the world at one time. He owned all the big newsletters, including there are just so many of them, but the Gary Allen Report and so many others. And he's Bob Chapman, been forecasting all this. His website's theinternationalforecaster.com. Bob, you've been forecasting total depression along with Joseph Stiglitz and others, hyperinflationary depression within 2.5 years. Are you revising that? Are things accelerating and deteriorating faster? I mean, you said it could blow a gasket any day, but you said sure thing within 3 years. What do you say now?
No, I think it's about the same. And the reason I say that is that these are deflecting events that are happening. We're talking about the massing of Israeli jets in Iraq for an attack. They want an attack on Iran for a number of reasons, but one of them is the same kind of reason that they invaded Iraq and Afghanistan in the first place, is to get everybody thinking about what's going on over there and not what's going on over here. And, of course, as you said, in order to control the American people and to enslave them. And that's what really this is all about. And you are right about that. And this whole economic event has been planned ahead of time. The taking down of the U.S. economy and its finances, and the world economy for that matter, is all part of a larger plan to bring about world government. And so what we're seeing here is a continuum, and the continuum for them has turned in, them being the Illuminati, the elitists, whatever you want to call them, has turned into a route for them. They are in serious trouble because, as you said earlier in your initial dissertation, that the economic and financial collapse that we're facing could very well bring them down as well, the richest and the most powerful. And I think you're right about that. And I think they're absolutely terrified because once that happens, these indictments and subpoenas and grand juries and the bringing forth of trials for these people are going to denude them of their wealth and power. And I think that's the way it's headed. And quite frankly, even though it's going to be a dreadful thing to contemplate and to face individually and as groups throughout the world in different countries, it's a good thing that the whole thing's coming down because finally it can be exposed and we can show the people what they haven't been listening to. And maybe it won't happen again for a long time. And we'll dig our way out of it. It's just going to be very difficult.
Now, the Los Angeles Times is the only U.S. publication, of course, as you know, all the foreign are admitting the truth, that foreign governments and others are considering, including the IMF and World Bank, no longer giving our Treasury bonds a AAA rating. A, do you think that's going to happen? And B, what will that precipitate?
Well, first of all, the chances of it happening are not great. These ghouls are in this thing together. Now, the only thing that could cause that would be a real hard and fast split between the European and the U.S. interests behind the scenes. And that could develop. They're very, very disturbed with getting bagged with 40% of the losses that occurred in subprime and also loans and other loans as well, in the real estate region, we'll call it. And so maybe they are going to split. They've shown some signs of that. And the BIS letter that was put out last week alluded to that. And that's probably, in fact, what you're talking about or reflecting on.
Yes, the Bank of International Settlements. But remember, Bob, for the layman out there, they listen to these fake financial reporters who just feed them an entire line of bull, a false paradigm of disinfo. In layman's terms, in 2 minutes before we go to break, boil down what we see happening, what's being engineered here. Then I want to come back and talk about if you or Dr. Paul Craig Roberts or somebody else was in the catbird seat, what you would do to try to avert this, if it could be averted, from the inflationary depression.
Well, first of all, it can't be averted. There's just no way that can happen. It's now the degree of the pain. And what is the solution? It's pretty simple. You purge the system. You raise interest rates and you stop creating enormous amounts of money and credit. And banks and insurance companies and corporations and individuals are going to fail. And you're going to have unemployment at 35%. Well, you're going to get it there anyway. So there's no way out of this thing. This is classical economics, and that is the solution. Purging. And we all got to go through it, whether we like it or not.
And if we don't purge, I mean, explain to people, if we don't purge, and all the top experts agree, by the way, you'll just never hear them on U.S. media, if we don't purge, it's 10 times worse, isn't it?
Absolutely, because you see Japan in 1992, they didn't purge. They went on and on and on and had a depression up until now. I mean, the stocks fell 70%, land fell 80%, homes fell 75%, and they still haven't recovered. They did wipe out a $1.2 trillion debt. They're down to a couple of $100 billion. But still, they didn't take the medicine. Why? Because the Fed told them not to.
So we've got to reboot now. We've got to reboot the system. We'll come back, talk about what you would do. Bob Chapman, internationalforecaster.com. I'm Alex Jones. I know we got a lot of callers. If you've got financial questions, we will take your calls for Bob Chapman. My websites are prisonplanet.com. Check out the newly redesigned prisonplanet.com. Classic.prisonplanet.com is the old site, and Infowars.com. We'll be right back after this quick news.
Drink my wine, plowmen dig my earth. None of them along the line know what any of it is worth.
More than